What is going on, everybody? I'm your host, Stacey Cole Morgan. You were listening to the Morgan Man Sports Podcast here on Spotify, Google Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasting from. Ladies and gentlemen, today we are talking about my CoD Champs 2022 predictions and my top 3 offensive linemen to watch at Falcons Training Camp, which is just a week away, ladies and gentlemen. And I am ecstatic that football season is finally here. Kind of sad that, this is now towards the end of the entire Call of Duty League season right here, but it will come back shortly. But without any further delay, let's go get straight into today's action. All right, ladies and gentlemen, quickly before we get into the show, I just want to address a quick little matter that was going on. The reason why I did a 2-episode series last week was just trying something out new. And it was just kind of just me going through my head and like what do I need to do? What do I need to do? And stuff like that. And I was just kind of just getting a little depressed and, thinking like, should I really quit podcasting? Because I'm not going anywhere. You guys are, listening to me, and I do appreciate that. I got 621 listeners on Spotify. So I do have an audience out there, and I really do appreciate that. But yeah, I'm going back to the 1-episode series where I do talk about, both Atlanta FaZe or just Call of Duty League in general, or in the Atlanta Falcons. I didn't mean to say and or, but just and, Atlanta Falcons content. Because guys, I do really enjoy making these podcasts for you guys. It really does seem like it, helps you guys out whenever it comes to understanding what team is going to be where for your fantasy brackets and everything just like that. But I just want to quickly address that. I'm going back to the 1-episode series every week on Thursdays, and then just keeping it, both Atlanta FaZe and Atlanta Falcons content on the 1 episode, not separated. So I'll be updating my bio yet again on Buzzsprout. So now, since we got that out of the way, ladies and gentlemen, we are talking about CoD Champs 2022 predictions. So this past weekend, the Major 4 tournament wrapped up with the Los Angeles Thieves beating the New York Subliners, who were definitely the underdogs the entire tournament weekend, which the New York Subliners, they were perfect until they got beaten by the Los Angeles Thieves. But still, the Subliners qualified for CoD Champs. Definitely that is great for the Subliners and definitely great for Crimsix's legacy, who was on the line pretty much. Because if he would have missed CoD Champs, this would have been the first time since 2012 that he missed any form of big championship weekend. But for Crimsix, that is great that he does not miss it. And it's been since 2012, since his first non-CoD Champs appearance. So, winners round 1, we have the Atlanta FaZe taking on the New York Subliners. So definitely it's just going to be like NBA style bracket, 1 versus 8, 2 versus 7, on and so forth. So FaZe versus Subliners, Raven Surge, Optic Ultra, Thieves versus Breach. That's how this bracket is going to go about. And guys, also, if you are into the little bracket situation that they got going on the Call of Duty League website, you can earn some money. The best bracket will win $5,000, and your perfect bracket will win $100,000. So definitely start making your predictions today. And for your CDL point standings, the Atlanta FaZe closes out the entire year with 330 points, a 28-13 win-loss record. And for your map win-loss record, I'm only doing this for FaZe. This is astonishing, really. 102 map wins and 70 map losses. For you just even getting over 100 map wins, that is incredible for the CDL. And I didn't think we honestly had that many maps to go through, or really 172 maps for the Atlanta FaZe, but my George, it's there. Now for the rest, I'll just give out, like the CDO points and series wins. So Optic closes out their year was 265 CDO points and a 24-2 record. Thieves jump up to third place with 215 CDO points and an 18-17 record. The Ravens, who's definitely been consistent all year, has 190 points with a 17-14 record. Seattle Surge, definitely a little scared about them now going into CoD Champs. It's 185 points with a 15-15 series win-loss record. The Boston Breach, 180 points, 16-16. The Toronto Ultra, 180 CDO points with a 16-18 record. And the New York Subliners, who has just qualified for CoD Champs, is 160 CDO points with a 14-15 record. So that is your top 8 qualifiers right there for CoD Champs. And of course, the teams that will not be featured at CoD Champs outside of a video package promo is the Florida Mutineers, the Los Angeles Guerrillas, Minnesota Rocker, and of course the Paris Legion, who will now be known as the Las Vegas Legion. I was going to say region, but Legion. So those are your CDO point standings right there, ladies and gentlemen. Your top 8 has qualified. And so now let's just go through of what I think personally will happen. So looking at the bracket right here, Subliners, they lost against the Los Angeles Thieves. And from what I've noticed throughout the entire Vanguard season, ladies and gentlemen, is it's not who really has that big win-loss record, like FaZe, for example. It's not really who has that big win-loss record. It's just who shows up that weekend. And you could tell by the very first series of who's showing up. So me personally, I have FaZe over Subliners in a 3-2 fashion. So they'll go to winners round 2. Ravens versus Surge. Guys, I have Ravens over the Seattle Surge. The Seattle Surge is just going on a downhill climb now and just not looking as dominant as they were during that Major 3 stage. Optic versus the Toronto Ultra. Guys, I have Optic over the Ultra. Ultra has just not been that same team as they were back in the Cold War season and early Vanguard season here. But Optic, on the other hand, they have been winning some and they've been losing a lot more than they've been winning. So it is going to be an interesting battle to see if Ultra can come up and clutch against Optic. But guys, I just don't see it happening. I see Optic beating Ultra in a 3-1 fashion. And finally, for your Los Angeles Thieves versus the Boston Breach, I have the Los Angeles Thieves beating the Boston Breach in at least a 3-2 fashion to go up against Optic in my brackets for the winners. I'm only doing winners. I'm not going through the entire, elimination rounds and all that. So that would leave then FaZe versus Ravens and Optic versus LA Thieves. So whenever it comes to FaZe versus Ravens, ladies and gentlemen, the Ravens did not have a good Major 4 tournament. I believe they were knocked out, within the first 2 series that they had. And that's not good, especially with you being 4th place in CDO point standings, trying to prove yourself to be a very good and dominant team. Now, FaZe, on the other hand, definitely had a great series outside of losing to LA Thieves. So I'm taking FaZe in the 3-1 victory over the London Royal Ravens, and they will move on to winners finals. Now for Optic versus, I was going to say Optic versus Ultra again, but Optic versus the LA Thieves. LA Thieves definitely are coming in hot from their Major 4 tournament win, and Optic is astonished that they've lost to FaZe now, especially this late in the stage. But I would rather, if I was FaZe, I would rather have a victory over Optic now than I did, at the beginning of the season. So Optic versus LA Thieves, guys, I would say it's going to come down to really the LA Thieves winning this series 3-2. I just don't see Optic really giving them this easy win. But LA Thieves is going to come out, prevail, and send Optic down to at least the elimination round 2. So then that's where we have the winners finals, FaZe versus the LA Thieves for your elimination round finale from the Major 4. And guys, FaZe, you don't know who's going to show up on this one, because FaZe would have some momentum, the LA Thieves will have momentum, but who's really going to have that extra oomph to really get over the hill? You know, both FaZe and LA Thieves has been really good this year. And I'm not going to sit here and say that, you know, this is going to be easy win for either one of these teams. But if I'm really going to have to go down to the wire, this is championship weekend. This is where the GOATs really shine. And I'm going to have to say FaZe is going to have their victory over the LA Thieves. They're going to get that redemption. And they're going to beat the LA Thieves in a 3-2 victory. It's going to come down to Search and Destroy round 11. That's what I'm predicting. Search and Destroy round 11. Of course, we don't know the maps because, you know, you got to do the vetoes and just, you know, the maps are not set just properly yet. So again, FaZe wins over the LA Thieves 3-2. Search and Destroy round 11, round 6, round 5, however they're doing. I forget the numbers some days, and it's plus it was early as 7:44, waiting on FaZe, the official FaZe clan, to open up on the stock market. So yes, we have the Atlanta FaZe winning the winners finals, and we'll go to Championship Sunday to face off against whoever wins their elimination finals matchup. Now, I'm not going to go ahead and sit here and say that I'm saying FaZe is going to win it all this year, but looking at how the teams are now performing, ladies and gentlemen, it makes me sit here and say, okay, look, Subliners, they lost to Los Angeles Thieves. They had, you know, a great Major 4, but lost to LA Thieves, just got lucky enough to just be in here. Ravens, downhill. Surge, downhill. Optic, don't know who's going to show up. Ultra, okay, with them. LA Thieves, okay, a little worriness right there. The Boston Breach, we've beaten them before, but they can show up at any given moment. But again, looking at the brackets right here, ladies and gentlemen, this can be an easy... It can be easy for FaZe. It really can be. But also it can be challenging for FaZe. But I just do think that this is where FaZe is going to finally show up. They're not worried about the major tournaments. Yes, they would have had liked to win all of them and say, hey, look, you cannot touch us. But I think they were more worried at the beginning of the season. Okay, we're just going to repeat. We're not worried about the major tournaments. If we make it and we win it, that's fine. But we're here to repeat this year because we're Cold War champions and we're going after Vanguard championship. That's personally what I think is happening, because whenever FaZe, I forget the series. Yeah, I really forget the series. I think it's whenever LA Thieves first was introduced to FaZe, during the Major 4 tournament here. Well, like qualifiers. FaZe showed up. They 3-0'd the Los Angeles Thieves. That's because they actually tried. They dominated. They double donut the LA Thieves and Sam Octane. And that's what happens when you actually do show up and try. And I feel like that's what the FaZe is going to be showcased this weekend. I feel like that's what we're going to see is pure dominance. Yes, I mean, even though you're going to show pure dominance, you're still going to lose a map or two, but you're still going to win in my predictions right here. So I'm just going to go ahead and just say it. I think FaZe is going to win CoD Champs this year. It will be back to back because we don't have a Dallas Empire no more, which is now, you could technically call it Optic Texas because of the Envy merger. But still, I have FaZe winning CoD Champs this year. The elimination round. If I have to go, honestly, based off the elimination round, it's either going to be LA Thieves or Optic. One of those two teams is going to show up. I'm going to lean more towards Optic in this situation. I think Optic has a better chance of making it through the elimination rounds all the way to the grand final against FaZe. And then again, that's where FaZe is just going to prevail over Optic. Scump's going to be denied his second ring. So come at me, Optic fanboys. So anyways, ladies and gentlemen, now we are switching on over to the Falcons Training Camp. My top 3 offensive linemen to watch at the Atlanta Falcons Training Camp this year. So offensive line is definitely something that, you're really just going to have to look out for this year. Because last year with, believe it was Jalen Mayfield. Yeah, Jalen Mayfield. It was atrocious at that left side. Definitely atrocious. Did not protect Matt Ryan, which now Matt Ryan's gone. It's going to be a situation of, okay, we really need to start stepping our game up whenever it comes to the trenches here. And there's definitely 3 players that you really need to watch out for. So, with number 1, it is Jalen Mayfield, a 3rd-round pick in the 2021 NFL Draft. Mayfield started all 16 games and he appeared at the left guard position during his rookie season. After playing right tackle at University of Michigan, Mayfield was forced to learn a new position in just one offseason while adapting to the speed and strength of the NFL defensive lineman. The experience was exactly how one would expect, largely up and down, but for the most part a battle. Mayfield led the league in sacks, allowing with a staggering 11 and racked up 9 penalties, tied for 8th most. Now entering year 2 with a full offseason under his belt, all eyes are on Mayfield to see whether or not he takes a step forward. NFL players often experience the biggest jump in performance from year 1 to year 2, and a trend Atlanta certainly hopes applies to Jalen Mayfield. The Falcons drafted Georgia left guard Justin Shaffer in the 6th round earlier in the offseason, a selection largely geared towards adding depth, but could become one that generates competition for the starting spot next to Jake Matthews as the season progresses. Still, Atlanta will give Mayfield every opportunity to prove he can be the team's left guard moving forward. However, if he performs poorly in training camp, look for Shaffer as a potential outside addition to get a chance, as the Falcons can afford a repeat of 2021 from the left guard position. Coming in at number 2, ladies and gentlemen, is Drew Dalman. Perhaps the biggest storyline out of OTAs was Dalman and Hennessy splitting snaps at center on the first team. A 2021 4th-round selection out of Stanford, Dalman appeared in every game on special teams during his rookie season, but didn't earn any starts. Dalman, 23, saw the majority of his work with the offense in weeks 12 and 13 when the Falcons rotated him and Hennessy throughout the contest. With Atlanta continuing to allow Dalman to push Hennessy, who started all 17 games a year ago in camp, is a clear indication that the team is open to change. Now it's up to Dalman to take charge for the opportunity. A clear weakness of Dalman's game is his opening act was overall play strength. Such as Mayfield, Dalman has now had a full offseason to add to his strength after seeing how he stacked up compared to NFL defensive linemen. And ladies and gentlemen, coming in at number 3 is Jermaine Ifedai, if I'm pronouncing this right. The Falcons declined McGary's 5th-year option earlier this offseason, an indication that the team doesn't see the former first-round pick as part of its future. With Smith and the rest of the Atlanta Falcons regime having no ties to McGary in his 2021 season featuring 9 sacks allowed, it's reasonable to believe the Falcons may seek alternative options if he gets off to a rough start. Enter Ifedai, one of Atlanta's 6 free agents additions from the Chicago Bears, a 2016 first-round pick from Texas A&M. Ifedai has started 83 of 85 career games on the right side of the offensive line, bouncing around from guard to tackle. Falcons offensive coordinator Dave Regain and quarterbacks coach Charles London were on Chicago's offensive staff when the team started FDI for 16 games in 2020. He did so at right guard, where Lindstrom is a mainstay. Thus, there's a lot of questions to be answered by FDI starting in training camp. Despite struggling at right tackle throughout his career, he can push McGarry for reps at the position, considering that the Falcons sought after FDI services. It's not a far out possibility. So those are my 3 top offensive linemen that you need to watch out for this year at the Falcons training camp, ladies and gentlemen. Definitely, the trenches are going to be a main priority this year. The offense is going to be a priority. Everything's going to be a priority. Because now this coaching staff has finally, or I think, hopefully, has finally got their personnel that they have been wanting since year one. Of course, year one, you're playing with what you have. Yes, you're going to have to get a few additions here and there of your liking, but you're still going to have to play with what you had. And that's what Dean Peeves and Arthur Smith has done for year one. And they've done a 7-10 record, which is honestly pretty damn great, if you ask me. But now it's year 2. You've cleaned house. You've completely cleaned house. You've got rid of everybody from that Dan Quinn era, I think minus except for like one person, I forget the name. And now you got your own personnel from the Chicago Bears to the Tennessee Titans, all within that Atlanta Falcons building, and it's go time. So, again, it's astonishing to think that we've got Chicago Bears and Tennessee Titans players, majority of the roster, but it is what it is on that one. But again, guys, this is going to be a great season. I think we're going to get a lot more wins. I'm not going to say offs, but if we do make it, I think it's going to be at least an early round exit, nevertheless. And that just shows that, hey, Arthur Smith knows what he's doing. Give him some time, and we're going to be back to the promised land like we were back in the 2017 season. Because that is all the time I have for today's episode. I sure hope you did enjoy it. If you didn't, make sure to like button. Follow me on Spotify, Google Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcast from. It tremendously does help me out, ladies and gentlemen. If you're on Good Pod HQ or Spotify, give me a 5-star rating. Again, that really does help me out when it comes to the rankings of my podcast and the discoverability of this podcast to share across the world. But again, guys, hope you all enjoy, and I, CoD Morgan, will catch you all later.